Hello, JF family. Welcome back to the podcast on JF, Joey Flavored, as you know. Thank you so much for your subscriptions. Thank you for your sharing, your liking. We really appreciate we are where we are today because of your love, your support, and your advices. They really come in handy. So today we have another special guest. You know how we do it. Only the best for you guys. Today we have Mbali Nxumalo. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Pindo. Thank you for having me. Finally.
Finally, guys, we've been trying to get hold of her. She's busy all over the
Oh
place.
my, no.
Tell me something. First of all, we're happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We've been following you around. We know what you're doing.
Thank you.
So that's why we thought, having you here would really come in handy, not just for us, but even especially the guys who are watching. So, we're almost at the end of the year.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Couple of weeks.
Weeks.
3 weeks, is it now?
Almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
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 Anyways, we'll save that one for the end. Now, I know who you are, but for someone who doesn't know who you are, just as much detail as you can share as to who Mbali Nxumalo is.
Okay, cool. Mbali Nxumalo is mainly a businesswoman who is the founder and creative director of Fashion Couture, as well as Crown Necessity. Crown Necessity was recently launched in October. It's a hair brand where we sell wig units, similar to what I'm wearing. I was born and bred Eswatini, went to school at St. Michael's High School, finished, went to UNISWA, which is now what is it now?
UNES or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
University of Swaziland,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
I did a BCom degree and a major in accounting
Okay.
with the aim of becoming a chartered accountant. Went and did my articles at PwC for a year and a half,
Okay.
and then I moved to Joburg to further my studies. And yeah, the rest is basically history. Let's just say I never got to the part where I became a chartered accountant, but I branched into business instead, and I've never been happier.
Okay. Now, that's where I wanted. Being a CA, would be a dream of a lot of people.
A lot of people. It still is a good dream to dream, yes.
Now, how do you get to a point where you decide, no, this is not me?
You know what? I think I was psycholized by the fact that there's only so many industries that you're allowed to do in terms of your education, and I was naturally a bright student, A student all the way to my studies, And the idea at home was just like, be a chartered accountant, you're going to make a lot of money. And I love money. Well, yeah. Those who know me, they know.
Yeah.
So that was the talk around being a chartered accountant. Your grades are good. We have no problem with them. So you'll never have a problem getting into university for your BCom degree. You'll never have a problem being picked as one of the students to go into your articles and possibly get a permanent job at PwC. You won't have a problem studying towards being a chartered accountant. So that was my mindset as and when I was doing the things. And then I moved to Joburg, and I think quite honestly, my move to Joburg was a runaway without me realizing it. I think I was getting very frustrated in my job. I was not necessarily enjoying it, but I was just really doing it, dedicating the time and the effort. And it really is a grueling experience to try and do your articles. And it's also a very priceless experience, to be quite honest. If anyone wants to be a chartered accountant, I'd say go into audit firms. Go do your articles there. It's a priceless experience. And then when I got to Joburg, was there to do my studies full time, and and then I got a job, to now complete the rest of my articles, because articles at the time took about 3 years. So in my mind, I thought a year and a half at PwC, another year and a half in a different company, and then exams, and then I qualified. And then I just started feeling very frustrated. I was honestly bored. Like, I was bored, and I didn't realize that it was boredom. It just started translating into my studies as well. My grades were not good. And that was even more frustration because, remember, in my mind, I'm an A student.
Sorry, before you go any further. Now, how many years had you spent from varsity to your articles?
Okay. maybe I could say 3 years. And the reason I say 3 years is because this is after varsity.
Okay.
Because university is 5 years degree.
Okay.
At the time, I think now it's 4 years. But at the time, during our time, I'm old. During our time, it was 5 years. So that was 5 years degree and then a year and a half in articles. And then the rest of the year and a half, hence I'm saying 3 years, is between furthering my studies, which was getting a postgrad, and also trying to finish off my articles at this other firm that was now, or had now employed me in SA. So yeah, roughly about 3 years. And then I just thought to myself, no, this is not working for me. My articles, fortunately for me, they got done, but I was just no longer into it by that time. Like I was just so out of it. I was frustrated. I was not enjoying going to work. And I was unhappy. It started translating into the rest of my life. And, you know, like I was saying, my grades were suffering because I didn't have the energy to push them. And yet, chartered accountancy requires you to have the zeal for it because it's not an easy thing, you know. It's not just about being a smart head. It's also about working hard. And I think the working hard part was no longer in me. Hence, now I was feeling frustrated and, you know. So then I thought to myself, what else do I like doing? Like, what else is out there? I started thinking, you mean, like, in my mind, I thought to myself, you mean to tell me the only way to make money and a good living is getting a qualification and then working full-time for the rest of my life? So the minute I started questioning that thought process, that's when my mind started opening up that, you know, actually, I love clothing. I love looking good. I usually dress up and people give me compliments. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, that was more of an easy thought process. And also because during my time as a student, I had instances where I knew that I was into business because bengcupha, like bengsuka lana, ngihambe ngiye eJozi, ngifike ngicuphe nabo magala bacuphako, come back and sell to the students. And then also when I was doing my third year, I entered for the Believe, Begin, Become competition. I made it into the top 60. I got their training. And even though I never made it to the top 10 that initially gets the seed capital, the training that I got, it kind of cemented more of the businesswoman, business drive type of seed inside of me. So when I sat down 3.5 years ago and thought to myself, what can I do? Those are the things that just kept popping up and popping up. So yeah.
Wow. That's a journey and a half, I'd say. Now you are leaving CA, making that decision of getting into business. You know, business has those advantages, disadvantages, especially if you are starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Now, take me through that process of now actually starting the business.
I think most people start businesses as a hobby. You know, you're at work, you're working full time, and then you think you're good at something. Or you found a product that you think could be good enough to sell. And then you decide, let me try this as a side hustle. That's basically how I started because I didn't just drop my pens and laptops and suddenly start sewing. I got people who knew how to sew, but it was not my studio at the time. It was just a normal tailor or a seamstress. So I would work with them part-time. Then I started investigating where I can find fabric, what types of fabric. So I'd make like a dress or two, and then I'd post it on my Facebook. Instagram was not really a big thing for me at the time. But then I had it, so I'd post there also. And one or two people would be like, hey, that's a nice dress. Please, can you make it for me? Hey, that's a nice dress. Please, can you make it for me? Fashion-Couture, the page, existed before the business without me even having a thought process that I was ever going to go into that kind of line of business. And it existed mainly because there's an app that exists, I think it still does, called Polyvo. So on Polyvo, you find different looks, different items. You piece them together and then you kind of make like a mood board of what people should wear or the trends or the style or whatever. So that's what Fashion Dash for me was for. It was just something I did during my spare time to refresh my mind when I was studying. And then I'd post these looks. And that's how I started generating a following through them. So by the time it was now me producing the clothes and putting them there, it was already like, oh, so this is what this page is for. You know, because with the posts from Polyvo, there wasn't much that I was selling. It wasn't my items. It was just items I'd find on an app and then put them together based on how I think they should look. And then you can just kind of say things kind of work out together when you're on your own journey, like when you're on the journey that you're meant to be on. Because like I said, the page existed before I ever thought I'd have a clothing brand. And then that became the page that I actually used for the clothing brand and made it easy because I had already had built a bit of a following on there besides just my own personal page. So that was it. A couple of dresses here and there, And as I was doing that, because I was still at work, the wanting and feeling like this is a business, that could actually work. Because that's how I think everyone gets to it, this could actually work. You start seeing the market. And then your mindset, if you want to take it from just being a startup into like a business, needs to start changing, which means you need to now be reading business books. You need to now follow people who are in the fashion trends so that you know what trends are next. You need to make friends with the fabric suppliers so that they can give you the best fabric, so that they can give you the best advice on which fabric to use. Because remember, I was not a fashion student. I'd never gone to fashion school. I didn't even know how to sew except my home economics class. Form 2. So, and then just from that, and now the merge between feeling like this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life in terms of the CA. Merging that and then merging this side hustle that I'd now started, I thought to myself, this could actually be a business. This could actually be something I do. And then I took my savings, bought machinery, the big domestic kind, industrial kind, sorry. And I got people to work part-time in my garage. And fast forward, now we employ 4 people who are full-time on the job in terms of working. But in the studio, we don't only produce for Fashion Dash Couture, we produce for other brands as well.
Okay.
So the business has taken to that level.
Wow. Your studio is in Swaziland, SA?
It's in SA because that's basically where I'm based. It's just that I do a lot of work also here in Swaziland, so you find people always like, you're always up and down. Where do you even stay? I'm like, I stay where the money is.
That's the answer right there.
Where the money needs me to be, that's where I am, because in my mind, this part of my life, whether I'm doing the fashion business, whether I'm doing the hair business, whether I'm being a motivational speaker, whether I'm making videos to give people business advice, this is the stage where I'm building. Nothing else. So I need to be where the building is happening. If the building is in SA, where I need to courier items for clients, where I need to be part of a meeting for strategies for small businesses, that's where I'm going to be. Same thing with Swaziland, and especially because Swaziland is my home, and just going through the different stages of my life that I've gone through very quickly in the past 3-4 years, I thought to myself, growing up, we used to have people in the public, women, men as well, who were young and who we thought we could relate to. And they looked very successful. They looked like they, made it, they were there. They just never came back to tell us how. They just never came back to encourage us, to go to our St. Michael's Hall and stand there and say, hey, girls, you can do it. Yes. We just used to admire them when we saw them in the paper or on the street and want to take pictures with them. And that's what kind of prompted me to go into the whole speaking career. Because as much as I don't feel like, now I'm top notch, I've made it, but I still feel like there's so many things that I've gone through that a lot of startups or potential business people or young people could actually benefit from. So,
Now, business. Sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't. That's business. Now, how do you keep the balance in saying, in the days where there's not much income, you're still able to continue, you're still able to survive? How do you make that balance?
What I liked about business is it gave me the opportunity to explore different things, because now I had quit my job and now I had the time. And money from clothing was not coming in every day. So you kind of feel like you're idle. Like there's a day where you're in the house and it's like, I haven't done anything today. You need to close that gap. And the only way to close that gap, obviously, is to look into other industries. But also, I think what helped me is I was side hustling way before. And so the culture of discipline and money and saving and trying to create wealth is something that had been with me for a while. And instead of just taking all my money and buying machinery and then putting them in my studio and making clothes and hoping people are going to buy, I invested in other things. Other things that did not physically need me to be active every day. Because remember, I couldn't split myself from trying to really start up a clothing brand and 2 other businesses. For example, with the hair business, I kind of started it at the same time as the clothing, and then I stopped because I realized that I can't have two startups that needed me to functionally be there and push them every day. But now that Fashion Dash Couture, in terms of the operations at the back, can kind of run on its own without me being there every day, it gave me the time to feel like now I can invest in this. And also, it generated the money for that. What I think people lack is when you're trying to do the side hustle, you're not taking that money serious. You're thinking it's money that will enable you to go to a baby shower, go for a shopping in Santon when you've made an extra 1.5. That's the wrong mentality when you think you want to build and grow a business or an empire, for example. Every cent counts, you know. So it's the diversification of deciding to not put your eggs in the same basket so that when one doesn't hatch, the others are hatching, but also the understanding that as this hatches, I can't eat all of it. I can't go and make my eggs and then fry and breakfast every day. I need to save. I need to take these hatching eggs and the money that's coming from them and put it aside because this needs to grow also. You know. And then we have a lot of, and this is always said by people who are big business people. We have a problem of instant gratification where you feel like I've made it or I've made $5,000, let me go blow it. Why? If you want to open shop again tomorrow, that $5,000 should be a reinvestment into the business again. Whether you're the business and you're reinvesting in getting a photo shoot, a professional photo shoot done. If you've made an extra 2,000 rand, go and do a photo shoot. Don't go and buy a new pair of shoes. That kind of differentiation and understanding is what will determine whether you remain a startup or your business keeps growing.
I like that. You know, it brings me to think about legacy. You know, making a quick buck is only for now. But if you intend to have a legacy, then you need to invest in that business. Now, on that point of legacy, you know, as Mbali, as the business woman you are, what legacy do you hope to leave behind? Not saying Sesiyakbulala. No.
Am I dying, Pindo? No, what's the plan?
No. Like, you know, as we live, you know, we have future plans, we have goals bigger than what people see right now.
Definitely.
So in those goals, I always feel like, you know, part of those goals is the legacy. Like, what are you leaving behind? What is the impact you hope it's there? You know? In terms of you, what's your mindset around that?
My biggest thing, which I think I'm very passionate about, but it's hard to sort of turn it into a fully fledged business for now, is to impact people's lives. Like from the videos that I do on my social media pages to some of the posts that I make, you know, some of the talks that I give at youth events, or recently I was invited to a church and I was talking to adults, and that really felt good for me because I thought to myself, and I see this every day, in our culture, there's so much knowledge that we don't pay attention to when it comes to business. And that's mainly because a lot of the people in our society who we've seen kind of making it, most of them made it through tenders. And I'm not saying a tender is a bad thing. It's a good thing, but it does not necessarily mean you have good business acumen. Because you've not started anything from scratch. You get this big lump sum of money to do this big project, and then you're remaining with whatever you have to live and splurge and whatever. Which is why a lot of young people that go into tenders very early, it's hard to sustain the life. If no tenders come in, you're not a business person. There's no money. Your lifestyle stops. You don't know how to now start afresh because you don't have the business principles. So my biggest thing would be that, to say that right now, as young people of color, this is the time that we should be investing in more than just what we're used to. Which is why we need to be aligning ourselves with trends, with events, with people who seem like they're progressive in that way. It's easy to follow someone who looks like they have a good lifestyle on social media, because social media just allows people a different, like a whole new platform to live lives that we don't have. You know, it's easy to do that, but I would rather be following someone who looks like this thing is sustainable, who will talk and give me pointers because they probably research, they read, they attend events that are bigger than them to learn more than what they know. That would be what I want to impact. I want somebody to look back at their life and say, I started my business because Mbali gave me pointers. I started my business because I saw Mbali doing it and making it work. I improved my business because I was following Mbali, and Mbali gave me this advice on my business. Because every now and again, I have people who will inbox me, hi, I want to start a business, and I was just thinking how I could do it, da 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 da. And what I've realized most of the time is people don't want to put in the work. They want the business, they want the extra money, or they want to make money, but they don't want to put in the work. I feel like that's a culture that needs to change, and I want people to look at me and feel like she really worked hard. So it's doable, but it's doable if you work hard. In my mind, my big legacy is around young people. It's around young people who want to be in business, to chisel themselves, to chisel their business, and really sculpt it in such a way that it's sustainable. Sculpt it in a way that you understand the fact that a business will not be rich in 3 years. If you read the books of the rich, the 1% of the world, they have 10 years, 20 years, 15 years before they made it. And I don't mean made it in the sense that before they made their first million, just before their product was bought and believed in.
Yeah.
I made a post recently and I said, in the first year of operations, Coca-Cola only made $50 US. And they made a loss because their advertising campaign was $75 US. But Coca-Cola already understood that you need to invest in the business and not just say, oh yeah, I have a product, here it is, buy it. And then if people don't buy it, then you close shop and shell over. They made losses. But our mentality as young people is, just because now I run a business, it should be profitable. I should go and buy a BMW overnight. That's not how it's going to happen. If that's what you want, please go play the lotto, try as much as you can, exchange the numbers, whatever. You're not going to do it while trying to do a business. In fact, the lifestyle does not make sense because every cent in your business needs to be going into the business. Yeah, like when I think of those type of things, I get very passionate and I could literally go on the whole day. But I just feel like we need to understand as young people that that's not how business is run. Business takes time. And that would be the legacy that I'd want to live with my life and with my business, to say that you need to invest in yourself again and again and again. And then you're going to make it.
All right. Wow. From everything you've said, I have no doubt that in a couple of years, you'll be way up there.
Dear God, please listen to Pindo's prayers.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. No, I think in closing, I just want to give you an opportunity maybe to encourage someone who will be watching, as far as business is concerned, making that decision of saying, I am going into business, I am going after that, because it's not just business. Some people have other things they are interested in. So just to encourage them, saying, it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have two things. The one is just a saying, the other is a story. One, there are certain business principles that if you don't adhere to, you will always remain a startup. I don't care how many years you can invest, you can be trying to sell the same thing or doing the same thing for 10, 15 years. It will never turn from being a startup because you, the person who has started the business, has not understood certain business principles: consistency, efficiency, good work ethic, good brand management, those type of things. So look into that, or else if you don't adhere to it, you will always remain a startup. That's it. And then secondly, when I was doing my articles, especially at PwC, the work was very vigorous. Like, it demanded a lot. And remember, we were also studying part-time. But there are audits and days and weeks where we would spend knocking off at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., and still needing to be at the office at 7. Yeah. And someone else will say, yeah, but work starts at 8. And I totally agree. That's what our contract said. But when you're there, when you're in it, you realize getting to work at 8 is not going to work. You need that extra hour in the morning, so you come in at 7. And you would knock off at 3, come back at 7, work Saturday, work Sunday, work if there's a holiday in between that particular audit, because you need to get the job done. The manager doesn't care the fact that it's a holiday. And shame, not necessarily that they don't care, but it's just part of the job. There's nothing we can do. The minute you say you are doing your articles. That's part of what it entails. So
Yo.
if you think you want to start a business, and say maybe you're at work right now and you come in at 8, you knock off at 5, that's about 8 hours. So about 7 hours of actual work because you have that lunch hour 1 to 2, and probably 4 hours of proper production. The 3, you're surfing the net, you're checking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter,
Watching JF.
and watching JF, you know.
Yeah.
So you probably have 4 hours where you're productive, and then you knock off at 5. Maybe you stay in traffic for another hour. If you stay within the vicinity, get home at 6, cook or attend to your wife or your husband and your children and whatever. You're tired, you're exhausted. By 9, you want to go to bed. You go to bed, wake up in the morning, same routine. When you have a business, or when you want to have a business, that can't be your life. If you're productive 4 hours at the Mlungu's place, the other 3 out of the 7, you'd better be working on your business. And don't say, yeah, but I'm at work. Yeah, but you're sitting on Facebook. Yeah, but you're on Twitter.
What are you gaining?
Like, you're checking on WhatsApp groups and statuses and whatever, and not putting in the work. So that 3 hours could actually be good for you, but you don't utilize it. And then you get home and you attend to your routine, and then by 9 you want to go to bed. You can't do that if you're trying to start a side hustle and yet you have a full-time job. You need to sleep at 11 or 12. You know, sleep 5 hours, wake up at 5 to attend to this now everyday routine of yours. If you cannot do that, if you can't discipline yourself enough to say that I can do this, then you have no business starting a business. What's going to happen is you're going to be those people that always give customers excuses. Sorry, my child was, sorry, I couldn't, I was charging my phone and then I left it. It will not work, because what I normally say to these women is, the people that send me these messages is, there's always someone out there giving us what you are giving us. So what differentiates you from that person if you're going to make the same excuses as the person who really has not started a side hustle? They just have their normal life. You're wasting your time trying to claim that you want a business instead of just sitting down and living your life like everybody else who has a 9 to 5 and has a routine. You're not doing anything. That mindset of being an article clerk and working weird hours, I swear to God, it's part of the reasons why I have been the way I am in a very short space of time. Because I understood that if I could do that, if I could sit in an audit client's office and until 3 a.m. and be back at 7, I could do the same thing for my business. What you're not doing for your business, I'm doing it for mine. And so if we compare a business that started 4 years ago, similar to mine, of someone who's making excuses instead of putting in the work, and comparing it to mine, you're going to see the difference in the strides. It's not going to be the same. That's just it. There's no miracle, there's no big secret, there's no respecting certain business principles so that you don't remain a startup, and putting in the work. There's nothing else.
Lolendlebe akeve usho njalo umbhalo. Wow, Mbali, thank you so much. I'm sure we will have people interested in getting in touch with you. You know, how do they do that?
Okay, so I am on Facebook and Instagram as Mbali Nxumalo. So on Instagram it's Mbali Nxumalo _ People can follow me there. On Facebook it's just Mbali Nxumalo. There's 2 pages on Facebook. My personal page, which most likely doesn't have a lot of the business things, and then there's Mbali Nxumalo, the business page. So I'd probably advise someone who wants to follow me for business reasons to follow that page. Actually, currently, I was saying that I want to run a session for what I call my Get It Done plan for year 2020, and there's a couple of requirements that are on there that people can just go on the page to see what the requirements are. There's a personal email that you can email me on so that you can be part of that session. The session is planned for January. So I'm sorting out the logistics of the venue and whatever and the exact date. But those who send the emails personally and who want to be a part of it can be a part of it. They're going to know the details once we've sorted out the venue. I'm not much of a Twitter person. I drown in over information on Twitter because I feel like people use Twitter for the wrong reasons. So you're probably not going to really find me there. But yeah.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much. People, get in touch. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming through. We've really gained a lot, and I hope
Thanks for having me.
Our viewers will gain a lot too.
I hope so too.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Thank you so much for tuning in, whichever time you're watching this. Make sure you learn, make sure all that's been said today, you applied into your business, you are applied even in your normal life. Because trust me, it will work. Otherwise, thank you for being with us. Please continue to subscribe and press that bell thingy down there. It's for free. Good that you're just subscribing so that you are always updated on new content that we have. Otherwise, from me, Pinda Woodley, and the amazing Mbali Nxumalo, we say goodbye.